know what's one thing that really irks me? It's something that we go through year after year after year after year. And it's something that a lot of us don't really think about most of the year. We forget it. But then, as soon as it comes up, all the horrid memories of it suddenly flood to us. What I'm talking about is the so-called daylight savings time. Find it ironic it's called daylight savings time when it makes your time seem to dwindle down the drain. Last week, and I'm not going to speak for all of you, but at the very least, we in calendar, even though pretty much every other ancient civilization with stones managed to do it. I'm not just talking about the Aztecs. Literally, half of every single ancient civilization, without of all our fancy modern technology, managed to do what this guy couldn't. And of course, instead of actually trying to correct the calendar, we added daylight savings time. And not only that, that's why we have leap years, although that's not so bad. Although it's sad for the guy that was born on a leap day, that he can only celebrate his birthday like once every 4 years. I mean, by the time, he'll be like 60 before he's old enough to even get his driver's license if they didn't actually make the exception, if they were all religious about it. I hate legalistic religious people, just in case you're wondering. And no, I'm not an atheist, so don't ask. Wow, this is getting touchy. In my last video, I got into politics, and now I'm getting into religion. The only thing that's left for me to do is getting into human rights. But anyway, back to the daylight savings time. Not only do we have to have daylight savings time and the fall back, but also we have to have those leap years. Another thing is, speaking of daylight savings time in the Aztec calendar, 2012, I highly doubt that it's happening. Oh, I believe as the years go by, our politics and our world government's gonna get even worse and worse and worse. There's gonna be that whole New World Order thing, Mark of the Beast, and all that jazz, and the economy crashing. And as for global warming, I think the weather's gonna get messed up, whether we pollute it or not, based off those stars. No, the world is not just gonna go poof at the end of 2012. By the way, technically, according to the Aztec calendar, 2012's over. Yeah, so maybe the Aztecs didn't quite get everything right. Of course, Assassin's Creed 3's plot was going to be 2012, but I'm pretty sure they're rewriting it now, since it'd be kind of stupid to be making a game based off 2012 when 2012 is pretty much over, or it's about to be over by the time the game gets released in October. One thing I like about Assassin's Creed 3, it's going to take place during the American Revolution. You might know, based off my top 20 favorite American heroes, that I love history, and I also like video games. I know I try to make this channel for everyone, but let's face it, I have a keen interest in the medium of video games, and man, do I wish I could be at that Smithsonian Museum as games as art. Why can't video games be art? I read an article where a urinal was considered art from so-called modern artists. That's BS. If a seat where you take a leak can be art, why can't games? I know there are pretty stupid games out there that are not art. You know what? There are lots of stupid films out there that are not art. Lots of crazy films with just mindless action. I'm looking at you, Michael Bay. By the way, you should really check out Rich Alvarez. They hate on Michael Bay a lot, and I already left the link to their channel, but I think I'll leave another link to it. While I'm at it, I'll also leave a link to Assassin's Creed 3. Although if you haven't heard of it, then you probably have been living in the cave. Or you live in a cave, but You don't have internet access. Okay, basically these days to keep up what's going on, you have to live in a cave. I think the expression's kind of reversed. It's kind of sad, actually. I enjoy YouTube and the internet and stuff, but I really miss the days where we could have good old social interaction without having to go, eh, eh, texting. OMG, LOL, TTYL. Whatever. I swear, these people, when I try to talk to them, they speak in 1 to 2 word responses and try to get away as soon as possible. It's like they've been programmed to only talk in internet anagrams. Anyway, I like history, and I'd like it if more games were based off history. By the way, they actually have made some pretty cool games based off history. Mostly by Paradox Interactive and this one company whose name I can't remember the name of that made a bunch of interesting historical simulators. By the way, if you're into old 16-bit games for the good old SNES, one of the best consoles ever made, you should really check out Clan of the Grey Wolf's channel. I'll leave a link to it below. There's a series called 16-bit Gems. One of these 16-bit gems is Liberty and Death, and another one, North and South, for the NES, which technically is an 8-bit gem, but he made an exception that day because it was April Fool's. Anyway, they're both really good historical simulators, although surprisingly, North vs. South for the NES has better sound quality than Liberty or Death for the Super Nintendo. What, are you serious? An NES game with better sound quality than the Super Nintendo. And the NES version, I'm not saying it's bad, but trust me, it's no Mega Man 2. And if an NES game without Mega Man 2's or Super Mario Bros. 3 or Legend of Zelda soundtrack is better than a Super Nintendo soundtrack, the Super Nintendo soundtrack, I love Liberty and Death, and if you're a real-time strategy and historical fan, you'll love it too. But in all honesty, Liberty and Death soundtrack sucks. Yeah, sad. But anyway, if you're a real-time strategy fan or a history fan, that doesn't mean you shouldn't check it out. You can actually use history as a strategy guide. Apparently, Assassin's Creed 3 is going to be more historically accurate, which is very interesting. Another thing they're going to do is that apparently there's lots of climbing of trees, which is kind of ironic considering in Assassin's Creed, the other Assassin's Creed games, you can climb every single thing except the one thing that you can climb in real life you couldn't climb. Ironic, isn't it? I like dry wet, not that stupid potty humor stuff that's in a bunch of kids' films these days. Why do kids' films these days are so bad? They seem to be nothing but potty humor and pop culture references. Pop culture references in and of themselves does not guarantee comedic gold. It is delivery. That is, to me, the ultimate form of comedicness. Take Nostalgia Critic. What's his secret for making good comedic gold? It's not the swearing. It's the delivery! Come on, people! By the way, why does everything have to be comedy? I mean, I like comedy, but it seems like you could burn yourself out from it. When's the last time we had, like, the epic movies? When I say epic movies, I don't just mean your stereotypical action car with almost nothing on, for no apparent reason. Black fan service. Otakus, take note. Fan service does not equal substance. It just shows how really bad the writers are, that we cannot think of a good anime and a good original plot, so we have to resort to using the universal common lower denominator of human males. Fan service. Seriously. Well, okay, this is just for entertainment in general, not just anime, but seems like entertainment lately pretty bad. It's immorally bad and just plain sucks. Yeah. Now let me think. Where was I again? You know, I just love how in these improv videos I start with one thing and I completely go off subject. While I'm on the subject of sequels, Mass Effect 3, people are crying over the endings. One guy even tried to sue BioWare. What? That is insane. I mean, and I thought the Sonic fans were bad, but I know Sonic fans are crazy, but when was the last time they sued Sega for making a bad Sonic game? And they do make bad Sonic games, but they've been getting better, but the Sonic fans are just complaining. Sonic the Hedgehog 4 Episode 2 looks good, and I still want an Episode 3 where you play as Knuckles the Akenda. Knuckles! Even though I do like Tails better, as you can see in my top 20 Sonic characters list. Well, anyway, I mean, I guess the Mass Effect 3 fans are the George Lucas fans / haters of this generation, except to find out how crazy George Lucas's fans were, we had to wait until he released the prequels. Mass Effect, we get fans that love them and hate them all in the same generation. New record for entertainment. Well done, BioWare. You have managed to get crazy fanboys that are going to complain and moan about every little thing that bothers them. By the way, I didn't see anything wrong with the ending of Mass Effect 3. What was wrong with it? I'm not going to spoil anything, but seriously, in the comments below, I'd recommend not doing spoilers for the people that haven't played Mass Effect or seen it, but in the comments below, you tell me, you spoilers have to, but try to avoid them if you can, what is wrong with Mass Effect 3? Apparently it's about DLC and paying for an unfinished game, but who says the game's unfinished? I mean, they put a multiplayer mode in that they didn't even have to put in. That more than makes up for quote-unquote DLC for an unfinished game. You guys just grown really attached to Shepard, and you're afraid to let him go, and you're blaming your sentimental value and saying that it's BioWare's fault for not finishing something, when technically that is pretty much a good way to finish something. Besides, BioWare has heard you guys crying, and they're gonna bring them back. I don't know what you guys are angry about. Sheesh. Anyway, anything about the George Lucas fans, what I really don't get is why they hate the prequels. I mean, if you think the prequels are inferior to the original trilogy, that's fine, but they are not horrible. And they're actually pretty decent. My theory is that technically, now the prequels are out, Star Wars fans all these years have used their imagination, how Anakin Skywalker turned to the dark side, and now they can't use their imagination anymore because of the prequels, and now they're hating on them for it. Kind of like how Final Fantasy VII had a bunch of plot holes in it, and then Crisis Core fixed those plot holes, and I thought Crisis Core was pretty good. I mean, not like the best, but it's pretty decent, and it actually makes Final Fantasy VII makes more sense, but I really hate how they're hating on it. By the way, Screenix, if you're listening, you've heard the story before, but sequel to Chrono Trigger. By the way, I liked Chrono Cross, as you can see in my Fanboys video. Jesse didn't like Chrono Cross this much, but he didn't hate it. It was a reenactment. Okay? Wow, this video is about 14 minutes long, and last time it went on a bit long too. But anyway, that whole Mass Effect 3 deal, I'll leave that down below so you can check into that. And that's really all I have to say. Oh, except I might not be able to do these vlogs more often, because yesterday I went in for a job interview, and if I get the job, well, between sleeping, breathing, eating, living, finishing my last year at school, looking into colleges, and trying to hang out with friends that are also busy as heck, and when I wasn't busy as heck, could almost never hang out with me, I'm going to have my hands full, and I might not be able to do videos this often, or I might have to murder myself to do the videos often. If I murder myself, I won't be able to do much videos. I know it's self-preservation, but hey, there's nothing wrong with self-preservation. Self-preservation and selfishness are not the same thing. I live for you people, okay? And if I die, I won't be able to give you people any more videos, even though, at this point, no one cares, because I don't have any fans for my videos. Anyway, this is Dpolaristar. I analyze it so you don't have to. Is that when Zachary Beaver Came to Town was a horrible movie, but that's no surprise since it was directed by the same person that made The Abomination, Judy Moody. Good day.
Please subscribe. It's free and easy. Just push the yellow button. Also, each time you subscribe to Dpolaristar, you increase the chances of Sakura not coming back to do Super Smash Bros. Brawl and instead actually getting a good director who can actually make the game based off skill and not dumb luck. Grrrr.